Freudian thought, unfortunately, remains the dominant mode of psychological thinking today and, unfortunately, has caused great damage to society. In this video, based on an article by my teacher of blessed memory, Dr. Gerald Epstein, there is a strong need for people to understand the fundamental antagonism it has to basic Hebraic biblical spirituality. Firstly, it's important to note that spiritual practice and psychotherapy are not easily mixed. Meditation, for example, is a self-awareness technique that helps people to come to terms with the split between what is subjective and what is objective. It was never meant to be used as a therapy for helping people to deal with the problems of everyday life. Spiritual practice, on the other hand, always seeks to have us disidentify from the logical explanations or interpretations we come up with for why we're here, what has gotten us into the mess we may find ourselves in, and what we might do about it. Psychological thinking and spiritual thinking are in direct opposition to each other. Talk therapy, which has been extended into other forms of psychotherapy and sees talking as the basis of cure, is not unlike the confessional booth of the Roman Catholic Church. In both of these models, there is one significant factor missing, which is present in the basic Hebraic model: responsibility for one's action. The Freudian focused less on personal responsibility than on understanding what caused the patient's trouble or reassuring the guilty person that what they have done is not so bad. Understanding and absolution often permit the troublesome behavior to continue. In the Hebraic model, one is always alerted to be aware of the responsibility for one's thoughts, actions, and words. By focusing on the notion of the unconscious and its dark repressive drives as the cause over which a person has no control, Freudianism allows the person to shirk personal responsibility. One can hear echoes of this in modern news today when crimes are committed. There's always a commentary on psychological damage of what led this person to commit this or that crime. One needs only to look at the psychoanalyzing done on recent documentaries about serial killers to see this in full display. Additionally, the therapist influenced by Freud passes no moral assessment on much of the behavior of his or her patient. This has the unfortunate result of favoring a kind of extreme individualism at the expense of a larger community. This is already overemphasized in American culture, which has led to a weakening of community bonds of support that are essential for a functioning, healthy society. I might add that Alexis de Tocqueville, who wrote about America early in its history, said that while their individualism of Americans was on display more than other countries, it was always in the context of a wider and much healthier community of support where people felt free to form charitable societies from the ground up on their individual motivations. While there are unfortunate circumstances that contribute to the epidemic of, say, drug abuse, for example, some of the problems can at least partially be attributed to the Freudian rationalization of blaming, quote, unconscious forces who had the person at their mercy so they could do nothing else, or perhaps it's the excuse of unfortunate life circumstances. And this is rather than seeing the person as possible to be free and capable of choosing, which is the imperative in the Hebraic model. In the Torah, idolatry is basically creating a fixed image that is venerated and places something in between you and God. The speculative theoretical system that is Freudianism is both life-denying and nihilistic. Freud took his keen external observations and, instead of letting them speak for themselves, wove them into a structure that is supposed to explain human behavior, essentially erecting a statue of Baal by attributing greater meaning to one concrete thing over another. It creates a false idol of the unconscious, which is beyond our control, and thus prevents people from attaining true freedom in their lives. The Hebrew model, on the other hand, focuses on conscious choice and personal responsibility even when it's difficult. It doesn't provide an excuse to escape from the hardships of life, but rather provides a framework in which one can find the strength to meet these challenges. The Torah emphasizes that God gave us free will so that we can be responsible for our lives. It is in this that we find true healing. This model empowers the individual to make conscious choices that are in accordance with the divine will and beckons us to live in a world defined by morality, justice, and the open door of repentance at all stages of life. Sadly, I know too many people who have been in, quote, therapy for years. When they discuss their experience, which they're grateful for, it often involves the construction of elaborate theories as to why things are the way they are. They get an ease and calmness for an explanations as to why situations might be messed up in their lives. Is it truly valuable to examine our personal past? That is the fundamental question that is often not even asked. Again, is it truly valuable to examine our personal past? This is, of course, the basis of all modern psychological thinking, but the Hebraic approach is that the opposite is true. We've swallowed hook, line, and sinker that what happens early in life is a direct determinant of what we become, think, and believe as adults. But this has not been proven, yet it remains at the center of every modern psychological system of treatment. The Hebraic model is rather the opposite, that instead of experiences creating beliefs, beliefs create experiences. Now, I'm not talking about mass societal events like wars, famines, natural disasters, etc., but the everyday, day-to-day experiences of life and relationships that overwhelmingly make up our human experience. We are not helpless victims of the past, but rather powerful actors with God-given freedom in a play with an infinite number of possibilities and choices that we can make to shape our destinies. The Hebraic model offers us a way out of the oppressive chains of determinism and into the realm of freedom, responsibility, hope, and healing. When you accept the premise that our beliefs create our experiences, a whole new world opens up, one that was beautifully explained in my teacher's book, Healing into Immortality. This is a book that I highly recommend it being part of your library. It puts people on the ladder of self-mastery in a way impossible in the Freudian system, or those other modern forms of psychotherapy that buy into the experience creates belief paradigm. The life of spirit has no constructed theories. It speaks in concrete facts about what our intuition and direct perceptions tell us. It speaks of the reality of our spiritual essence, our connection to God and His commandments. The life of spirit is a call for us to transcend what we think we know about ourselves and enter into a dialogue with the divine that will lead to true transformation. We must move away from the idolatry where one thing or idea or theory takes precedence over all else and instead open our hearts to a life of spiritual freedom. Only then will we experience true healing. This is the Hebraic model that I've come to embrace and has changed my life in so many ways. It's given me hope, understanding, strength, and resilience, as well as a solid foundation on which to build my life. It has made me more conscious and aware of the choices I have and can make in my life, and reminded me that I am never alone on this journey. With God's help, we can all take responsibility for our lives and live a life of true healing and purpose. This is the power of the Hebraic model. My teacher of blessed memory, Dr. Gerald Epstein, stated it so well when he said, quote, that biblical morality, as summed up in the Ten Commandments, and is the method by which we avoid falling prey to the deceptions fostered by any individual or group that poses as an arbiter or authority on what is right or wrong, good or bad for us. Clearing away the veils of untruth helps us climb the ladder of ourselves, at the top of which we can make the leap across the abyss, the leap into uncertainty that defines succinctly what is the life of the Spirit. My prayers, he states, are for all of us. Do not succumb to the, quote, princes of the world, and for us to give ear to the voice of God.